guess I can check Twitch real quick to see, is it streaming?
Let me refresh.
Nice.
Yes.
Alrighty. Can someone quickly check the audio to make sure we're not blasting the world?
Marco. Oh, you mean pull up the thing? Pull up the thing.
Yep, I don't think you're blasting.
Yeah, because I remember we did one whole episode of Tech
Blasting.
Edition, and we were like really loud. What about on
discussing Trek?
What about on YouTube? Are we seeing it on YouTube? I'm not.
I'm on
Yes.
YouTube. I'm on the page. Where do I go?
I'm watching
Oh,
it
yeah.
on YouTube.
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
there's
yeah,
a
yeah. I
delay.
see it now.
Okay. Yes, at the top. I see it. Cool. Well, I think we're live.
Discussing.
So, are you guys ready to try our darndest?
Indeed.
Let's see how this works.
All right. And if you're listening out there, forgive the host. But here we go, guys. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Discussing Trek, a Star Trek podcast, an unofficial podcast about the CBS All-Access series, Star Trek Picard and Star Trek Discovery. Today, we're going to talk about Star Trek Picard Episode 10, Et in Arcadia Ego, Part 2. Like always, I'm your host, Clarence, and I'm joined by my fellow co-host / Trekkies, starting with none other than the tech historian, Carrie Brown. How you doing, man?
Can't complain. It's all good over here in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, man. Trying to stay COVID-free, no doubt.
No doubt.
All right, and we'll head on down to Hattiesburg, Mississippi to talk to the Trek historian, Jonathan Shorts. How you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Excited to talk about this last episode of Picard, and I got a feeling we're going to have some mixed feelings, mixed emotions here. So we'll see.
Yeah, man. Oh, so much to get into. Also down there with you, we have the Stargate historian, Jeremy Barrow. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I too am ready to discuss this episode because I agree there probably will be some mixed reactions to what happened.
No doubt. And also here in Also in Jackson, or Ridgeland, Mississippi, we have the Who historian himself, Cal Jones. How you doing, man?
Can't complain. I'm interested to see what the mixed reactions are going to be. So I'm excited to talk about this. So glad to be here. Glad to be on video.
Yeah, man. It should definitely be an interesting conversation. Some of the places the story went to, I was not expecting, though I guess they telegraphed it, and we can get into some of that a little bit later. But yeah, as always, we thank everyone for their feedback. And if you're listening to this live right now, please chime in on the chat app, wherever you are, YouTube or Twitch. And also, if you want to send in feedback, you can send that in to fans@discussingtrek.com, which we've been getting some, and we have to dissect it a little bit because we got a great, what's the guy's name, John? I forget, that sent the about the book. You don't remember? I put him on the spot.
You did. And I was like on my phone looking for something. And
How dare you, man?
Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie, which is a he, not a she, by the way.
Correct. I apologize, Jamie. I do apologize.
Yeah, but Jamie sent in some good feedback about the Star Trek Picard tie-in book, which I'm sure at some point we're going to get into. But I definitely want to review that because it sounded like it had a lot of good tidbits for the season. Way more meaty than that countdown book we talked about. So yeah, I can't wait to dive into that book. And also we got some feedback, as always, from our friend Eric Hetherington from Canada, who just talks about how he really loved this finale of Picard, and we'll get into all that feedback at some point. But again, thank you guys for actually chiming in and hitting us up via email or the social medias. We really appreciate it. So we want to go into a little bit of news, not much, but we have one article that Carrie posted, and you posted in our Slack channel, talking about Brent Spiner's
Indeed.
gentle exit, and that he'll never play Data again. Do you have any feedback specifically about that you want to talk about?
Well, yeah, actually, since you mentioned it, yeah, there was one specific part of the article that I thought was interesting, like as it pertains to us, because I know from time to time we talk about the adult language
Yeah.
in Star Trek, Discovery, and in this, and the interviewee, this was the TV Guide article. They actually asked him about it, and you want me to just read that?
Yeah,
part,
yeah.
Or
I
okay,
can
so
read it.
he asked him.
Yeah. I
you
can
read-
read it. You can read it. It doesn't matter.
Okay,
yeah.
I have it pulled up. I can read it.
Yeah, go
if you
for it.
want. Okay, so he asks him what was also fun about this season was just how potty mouthed everyone was. How did you feel about the swearing? And Spiner replies, I didn't mind it. I know some people were maybe unhappy with it and said, that's not Star Trek. You can't do that. And other people were like, oh, come on, this is how people talk. I didn't have a problem with it. But if you remember in the movie Generations, I blurted out an expletive when I thought the Enterprise was crashing. And so I think it's canon, as they say. They tried to make a slightly more adult version of Star Trek, and I think that Gene Roddenberry would have been fine with it. Initially, when we started doing Next Generation, his idea was to do a more adult version of Star Trek. Somewhere in the first episode, the studio came along and said, you guys got to tone it down. We can't have that. And so we never did it again, but I think Gene would be perfectly happy with it. Thoughts?
Yeah, it's interesting, the sensibilities around swear words. You know, I think of what Bones used to often say, "Damn it, Jim." You know, is that word? That word is kind of just seen as not even being that bad anymore. So, I mean, certainly if you think of the last 10 years, I'm not going to say the expletives, but the S and the F word have become more prevalent. I'm not saying it should be more acceptable, but that's kind of like where television has went over the past 10, 15 years. So yeah, it's kind of strange to look at a 2020 Star Trek and the things that are pretty much more or less acceptable, but still you might not want your kids to hear. So I don't know. It's a weird place.
So let me ask this. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I kind of mentioned that a couple of episodes back about the swearing, and it just wasn't the same Star Trek, which, like, I don't really care. Like, I'm okay with that, and I love the show. But I think we kind of, like you just kind of pointed out, Clarence, and you were kind of gave us an example. You said, damn it, because that's what McCoy would say, but when it came to S and F, you wouldn't say it at all. Yeah. And I think the words that we normally heard in previous Trek were the swear words that were just commonly accepted. And I don't think S and F has really been accepted yet in this field. So,
all right, well,
but I'm okay with it.
All right, well, let me swing the conversation or the point in this direction. Could it be a little bit that the reason we pay so much attention with Star Trek as opposed to another property is Star Trek has been around for so very long. And when it was first created back in the 60s, you know, saying, damn it, Jim, was probably like really risque at that time, as opposed to what we're seeing, you know, now.
Yeah, I get that.
I kind of feel it both ways, because in some ways I feel like this is a product of the time, but in other ways I feel like they may be forging new ground. Like if you think about the original series, I think one of the first interracial on-screen kisses was Kirk and Uhura, wasn't it?
Yeah,
like that was like a ground-breaking, controversial thing that happened, and it happened in Star Trek. So I feel like they've always tried to push the envelope as much as they could, but you know, I even said this a couple of podcasts ago. Like I feel like it's also a product of the medium. Like you're on the internet where there are no like network FCC like standards that you have to follow. So we're actually getting Star Trek as it was intended, I would even argue.
Yeah. One of the things I kind of gauge it against is if we got a similar thing in Doctor Who, and I could never see that happening in Doctor Who, quite frankly.
Depending on which doctor. I could see Capaldi dropping a few F-bombs if need be.
Well, you know, it's Peter Capaldi. He's just this guy. What he was before he became a Doctor Who, but just in the show in general, I can't Go ahead, Cal.
But see, Doctor Who is still considered young adult viewing, no matter how old someone might be that's watching it. It's still considered, you know, young adult.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. So yeah, that was a definitely a great tidbit from Brent Spiner, and thanks to Kara for posting that article. Does anyone else have any news or anything they want to talk about before we just dive into this review?
Yeah, so there was a post. Uh, Sir Patrick Stewart has been spending his quarantine time uh, reciting daily sonnets from Shakespeare, and he started at number one and working his way up. So it's if you can understand Shakespeare, which I really don't, but but I mean you can appreciate the voice anyway. So it's pretty cool to listen to.
Yeah, I've been listening to a few of them. I think I've been watching it on Instagram actually, and it's pretty cool. But again, like if you're not really a Shakespearean, follower or whatever, it's kind of just like, oh, yeah, that's hard to understand. But he says it so eloquently, so
Right.
He's reading the phone book.
Oh man, so we're gonna move right.
I was going to say, it is probably worth noting that CBS All Access did make Picard season 1 all free
Yes,
for I think the next month.
that's a good tidbit. So did they do a 30-day trial just of the CBS All Access in general, or was it just specifically Picard? Do you know?
Specifically Picard.
Really
Like he said.
interesting.
And so, from what I've read, it was at the urging of Patrick Stewart.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of the people who hated Discovery because it wasn't free would very much like that. So yeah, and then it could be a result of like the time frame that we're in, where we're seeing movies go to straight to digital, and people are at home longer now that they can't really go into the office, and it's maybe he just wanted to give something back to the viewers out there. So yeah, that's interesting. All right, well, we're going to move right along into our review of Star Trek Picard at an Arcadia You Go Part 2. Originally aired for streaming on March 26th and directed by Akiva Goldsman, who also directed Star Trek Discovery's Context is for Kings and We Take My Hand, in addition to the first part of this two-parter. Picard and his team are pitted against the Romulans and the synthetics of Wow.
Copacabana.
Copacabana Capellius in a final confrontation.
If that song is stuck in my head.
Oh, man. So we're going to get right into it, but I want to go around the horn and get everyone's high-level view of this episode. And let's start in Hattiesburg. So, John, what do you think, man?
So I'll probably catch some flack from one or two of you, but I think this was the best episode so far. I liked a lot about it, and I really liked almost every part of this episode until I spoke with Jeremy, and he kind of ruined a couple of parts for me. But I liked it. It was good. It gave us what we needed, and it put a nice little bow on it, so I'm happy.
Awesome. What do you think, Jeremy?
Well, so as you probably gathered from Jonathan, I was not as big a fan of this episode as he was. They did some things I liked. They did a lot of things I didn't like. But, I mean, they wrapped it up nicely. So yeah.
All right, Kyle, what you got, man?
Loved it. Absolutely freaking loved it. And Jonathan, I was really expecting you to say that you didn't like it.
Really?
Yeah, for some reason I was expecting you to say you didn't like it, but my hat's off to you. I'm glad you liked it. I loved it.
It was awesome.
All right, what do you think, Kier?
Dun, dun, dun.
I think overall it was a very strong episode. There are a few parts that I was kind of like scratching my head, but for the most part, like it unfolded about how I expected. So yeah, 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you guys.
Hey.
I really loved it. I really loved it. there are a few parts I kind of question, like, really, is that the choice you made? But overall, I thought it was a very satisfying end to a very good season, and brought a lot of good closure to some characters we know and love, as well as took some weird directions with some as well. So I guess we'll get into
Seven of Rafi.
Seven of Rafi and just Picard in
Wow.
general.
You just went there.
He's a We're going to get into all of it. But first, I want to give credit where credit is due. We've talked about the X-Men vibes we got from part 1, but I think Kyle totally called it. From the show intro, he said there were all kind of key pieces in there. He mentioned Picard's zoom out of his eye in the introduction, and the real truth is we've seen from the very first intro what was going to happen. So Kyle, kudos to you. Any thoughts?
Well, you actually, you or Carrie One put me on to watching the credits in Discovery. And I think that's where I was like, okay, if stuff was in Discovery's credits, let me watch and see what they put in Picard if it's the same people making it. So that was the logic. It wasn't like, ooh, I discovered it. I just applied you guys' logic.
Yeah, but still, never in a million years I would have thought that was the direction they were going in. I think I even questioned you when you said it, like, no, no way. But let's go ahead and get into it, and we're going to start with the Borg cube trick. And we start the episode off with Narek making the journey to the cube in a pretty, fantastic looking scene, I thought. Again, another view of the Borg cube crash there on the planet. Good stuff there. So this is specifically to Jeremy. Did they manage to calm your gripes about the scale of the inside of the Borg cube in this episode? Because we just didn't see that interest this time. We got a little bit more this time.
They did a better job of it this time. I still would have liked to have seen more or but I'm okay with what we got.
Okay, can you say that again? We got some bandwidth breaking up for you that time. Can you get it one more time, please, sir? Can you say that again?
I've made my peace with how they're showing the Borg cube. I think they did a better job this time. I would have liked to have seen more, but they did a better job this time than to show me what else is in there.
Awesome. Yeah, I got to agree with you. I really liked how they showed a few separate parts. Not a whole lot, but it felt a little more fulfilling than just that one room that we got in the previous episode. So I really like that.
Right.
Any other thoughts about the Borg cube and maybe how it looked initially in this episode before we move on? Carrie?
Okay, I'm just gonna say it. They clearly show. I can't remember her name.
Narissa?
Yeah, they show her transporting out of the cube, so that she transport out of the cube and then transport back into the cube.
Oh,
like what's up with that?
Or did we assume
Do we know
she transported out of the cube?
They show her like sparkly thing and then like they cut to a ship. Like
Maybe
they
They
wanted
showed her transporting. They didn't show where she transported to. So
Right.
she could have had like a safe place within the cube.
so she transported to another place in the cube. What transported her? And like that's possible for an external ship to transport things from one place to another in another. Like so, I don't know that much about Star Trek, so like that's entirely plausible.
It doesn't
Yes,
happen
it's
often,
possible.
but yeah, it's possible. Site to site. I
Okay.
mean, it's used as the plot point in some episodes to get out of traps and things. So yeah, it's something that happens.
Wasn't that convenient? All right, I'm gonna shut up.
No,
Well, she could have teleported
It's-
or beamed back to the ship itself and then re-beamed back to another part of the cube.
yeah, that could happen too. I mean, it's so big, and it looks like there's a lot of good places to hide in there. So I don't think.
It's called suspension of disbelief. Sometimes you just have to believe that it's true just to move on.
Speaking
just
of
like-
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I don't know that much about the lore, so like, just the fact that like she had like 100 dudes hanging on her, like all grabbing her clothes, they were able to pinpoint her that precisely to transport just her when there's people like hanging all over her. Like, that's possible as well. Like, that's just okay. Like, that makes
Well,
sense.
I'll
It's
say
called the
this.
skeletal lock.
I'll say this. Is it possible? Yes, but have we seen it a lot? No. With a main transporter, it's usually hard to separate individuals in a group like that.
Yeah.
But we've seen a lot of times you have site to site transporters that are mobile. So they have it on themselves at the time.
Oh,
So
okay. All right. That makes more sense though. If it was on her, that makes a whole lot more sense.
And just remember, this is 30 years in the future, 25, 30 years in the future. Transporter technologies has gotten better. But when you're talking about Jeremy's suspension of disbelief, when her brother was running around sneaking in, you can't tell me nobody saw him sneaking in.
Oh yeah, that was a bit much. I guess Elnor saw him maybe because he saw him leaving out. So, but speaking of Narek and Narissa, I want to totally just talk about these 3 questions, and one of which I felt was totally unnecessary. So, have you found any of them? Question mark. Have you beeped any of them? Have you killed any? The second question totally was unnecessary. Have you effed any of them, really? I can see the reason for dropping the F-bombs and dropping the explicit content, but that one was like totally unnecessary. So that's why I didn't like it.
I thought it was a friendly jab. Well, a friendly bomb jab.
Quick punch to the gut, I guess.
I didn't have a problem with it.
Surprisingly, I didn't either.
Really? Am I the only one?
I just thought it was their weird relationship is the way I took it.
She's got a brother complex, honestly. Like,
it's like Cruel Intentions, kind of, if you've seen that movie. But Narek mentions a few other things that I found interesting. It was he mentioned that their parents died in their effort to stop the synthetics. He also mentions that he was disgraced, or he's a Zhat Vash washout. So I thought that the Zhat Vash were all women. So I guess that's not true. Did anybody else pick that up? No?
I
the fact that the male was why he was a washout. I don't know. I didn't think too much about that.
I took it more so if she was such a devoted person to this order and he didn't have parents and she was taking after him or looking after him or whatever, then she probably tried to impose all of that onto him, and that's why he always felt like I'll never be whatever. And again, they just had a weird relationship, so that might be it.
Okay, awesome.
I can go with that.
Yeah.
All right, so Narek grabs some grenades and heads back to Capellia Station. Elnor follows. Also, there's a conversation, and we'll move on, between Elnor and Seven. Elnor kind of sticks his foot in his mouth by saying that all XBs should just, kill themselves or something to that effect. And then Seven gives a very good argument, why they shouldn't be dead. He likes her and she's an XB, which I never really thought about until she said it, but it's true. She's been out of the collective for a while, but she definitely was an XB. So interesting stuff there. So let's go ahead and jump over to the Capellia Station trick. And first off, in a bit of foreshadowing, Picard looks at a synthetic butterfly, in which he says, "Lucky you." I just kind of laughed at that. But then Picard gets a visit from Soji. Looking at the suppressed species / race angle, is Soji right to defend her people? Now, of course, it goes a bit further when you say eradication of all organics, but doesn't she kind of have a point?
She does, but she just met her people. So I'm kind of having a hard time buying that an emotional bond of people that she had just met. she just figured out who she was, and now all of a sudden, she's full in.
Well, she does say that we have no choice. The organics has never given us one, which Picard says like one of my favorite lines I have ever heard him say in any series, and he's actually had a lot of these in this first season. But he makes the comment that to say you have no choice is a failure of imagination. And I just really, really love that line. I want to kind of put that on a wall with this picture because it's just a great, great statement.
Yeah, I kind of had a problem with what, like her direction she was going, but then I kind of attribute it to the improbable mind meld she had with the head lady. Like, so I'm assuming she may have put some of that doubt and anger into her from that, because it was like if she didn't, then I kind of have a bigger problem, because like all of a sudden she just flipped out, like she just went hardcore, I'm going to kill all humans.
Yeah, and I think Rios made a good point. I think it was Rios saying that they're the equivalent of 4 and 5-year-olds. They haven't been around for that long, maybe teenager at best. So they're having to make some very like hard hitting decisions, and they're not that old at all.
All right.
So let's jump into like the Agnes Girardi redemption tour.
Can I just say one thing before we go there?
Go for it, man. Go for it.
All right. So, like, this is the whole thing that confuses me about this last arc. It has been established and proven that the Romulans hacked the androids and caused all the problem that started all this mess. Like, it's been established. We know that is it O? Like, we know she's a double agent. Like, we know that the synths didn't really do anything wrong. So like, why isn't like why did they all forget that? Like, nobody seems to remember that like they have an out here. Like, so the synths don't have to.
Did they hack?
They don't have to like.
You talking about because they awakened Soji? Is that what you're talking about?
No, when the androids were building the ships on Mars, was it Mars?
Oh yeah. Utopia Planitia.
And they all went nuts because they were trying to save the androids that killed everybody. Like, that's what caused the synth ban.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, like we know that the synths weren't bad. And like they just all seem to forget that. Like, that was the major problem I have with this episode. Was like, you guys have an out. You had an out, and like nobody even brings it up, and it was driving me crazy the whole episode.
Well, I guess it's almost like if you think of somebody from a certain country does something wrong, but then we want to eradicate the whole country. I think the response is too extreme. I think that's pretty understood, that their response to eradicate all organics just too extreme, So they do have some justification in, being mad and wanting to get, revenge, but the response just seemed a bit too much. They bring their big brothers from another dimension.
It's like they act like they're painted in a corner, but they're not. They're not painted in a corner. Like, Starfleet actually would back them up in this sense, which I guess eventually they do, but I don't know.
So with the exception of Soji, would we say that, because Clarence, you said they were angry, could it be that the rest of them aren't as advanced as she is, and they're looking at it from a pure logic perspective?
Possibly.
And I think they said as much. Data's brother, I forgot his name, but he said he told Picard not to stop talking because they were still young and malleable. Like, Picard could talk these synths into believing whatever he says because they didn't have a mind of their own yet. And I'm paraphrasing, I don't know the exact words, but
yeah, I mean, you're totally right. I mean, again, like, they're young, they're relatively young, but smart as heck. So I don't know. It's a little confusing. They're very advanced in some aspects, and others, of course, I guess they're susceptible to being lured in one direction or the other. And then I think it was even Picard that made the comment of them being raised by two lunatics, Maddox and Alton Soon. So they really haven't been around the best of humanity, I wouldn't think. So all good points. But jumping back a little bit on Double O Girardi, let's talk about her a bit. And her creeping through the facility to grab an eyeball. Now, this is one of the problems I had with the episode. To me, that just felt very cheesy. It felt very cheesy, a la Minority Report or whatever. Grab the eyeball to get in the door. I didn't really like it. It just felt too dumb to me. But any other thoughts on Girardi, kind of saving the day there for Picard? No.
Convenient.
Had to happen, I guess.
Yeah. So let's jump onto the La Serena trek, and that's excuse me. Let's jump into the La Serena trek, and we're going to talk a little bit about Rafi, Rios, Elnor, and Narek, and in a weird how they laid out the episode to where that crew switched with Picard and Girardi at the exact same time, which I did not like at all. To me, it just felt too. I'm like, what even happened here? But we'll get into it. So, but before that, and this is probably going to be directed toward Cal, we see Rios use his imagination with this synth device, a la get out of jail free card. It basically seemed to me like the Star Trek version of the sonic screwdriver.
Hold on.
Just weird. Did we lose?
Yeah.
Go ahead and comment.
So I may have had an issue with that too. Not a big issue. Like, I was okay with it, and it was kind of cool. But here we go. You point something out, and then I'm kind of like, you know what? That really was kind of out there. And again, we go back to the same thing. Like, most technology and Trek, like, we can assume that it's going to be something feasible, and here's something that's just totally not.
Then all of a sudden we have magic.
Right.
Yeah. We try to pit everything in the Star Trek reality, even though it's way beyond what we know. But we try to at least stay within those rules. And you got to comment there, Cal. I see you went and got your Sonic.
Yeah, simply because we were on video, I was like, what the heck? Might as well. So, yeah. But I agree. I know where you were going with that, and it did feel like, here's your little, we don't know how to do this. Let's create something, and all you do is point at it.
Yeah. And then it's used again for the Picard maneuver a little later. It just, I hate that device. Why does it have to exist?
At least they don't point at every single opportunity that they get.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Wait for season 2.
Yeah, Lord.
Oh man. Oh.
But you do have to admit the concept of that, along with the visual of it, was cool.
It was all right.
Sale this summer?
Say that again, Carrie.
Are we going to see those for sale this summer?
Get your synth repair device at your local Barnes & Noble.
Get your synth ocarina available if it's Target near you.
Oh boy. Yeah, you will see that in cosplay, no doubt. So let's talk about the Sneevely guy that I thought had so much promise that has just really gotten on my nerves ever since his triumphant moment in the Impossible Box, and that would once again be Narek. Narek shows up to the La Serena throwing rocks to get in, and now he's a good guy all of a sudden. Thoughts? Do you believe it? Any comments on that?
Listen, you guys are picking my great show apart here.
Just wait.
Listen, I mean, I was okay with it, but I mean, now that you mention it, like, yeah, it was a little fast, but anyway, they had to put a bow on it.
This part was a part that actually made the most sense to me, oddly enough. Like, they should have teamed up at this point, because if they don't, they're all going to die. Like, it made complete sense to me.
Yeah, it's like the enemy in my enemy is my friend, or I think that's how it's done. Said, but yeah, it just felt weird to see this guy, which I do have to say, when you look at the grand scheme of things of the bad that he's done, what has he really done? He kind of tricked Soji. That's about it. He didn't really do anything else bad. Now, if you talk about Narissa killed people. You could probably say O was maybe even a little bit worse, but Narek really didn't. I didn't see him kill anybody this season. I just hope they don't make him a good guy next season. I really don't.
I hope we're done with him.
I doubt it.
But that's kind of how they gave you maybe the feel that he might be, or maybe it's you don't know if you can trust him is the feel that they'll go with.
Yeah.
This show needs a nemesis, and I feel like they could develop him into a pretty compelling nemesis in future seasons. I hope that's the direction they go. I don't want him to just be chasing Soji around like a puppy dog. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't even kill the synth. Like, what's her name killed her. So he really didn't do anything bad. Oh, we did get a comment here from YouTube where Jessica says, cough, lazy writing magic plot device, cough, in response to this Star Trek sonic screwdriver is what I'm calling it.
I like that.
But let's move along a little bit. And so, another thing just made me really mad is the whole dumb thing of we're going to march back in there, but we're going to make you our prisoner and they're going to let us through. That was so dumb. The oldest trick in the book. And we're going to put the bomb in a soccer ball. What?
I need my soccer ball, dog. I want to play some soccer. Let me have my ball.
Oh, boy. That's so bad. And they let him in and didn't follow him around. Really?
Yeah.
Well, did they have a reason to distrust him, really?
Yeah, they kicked them all out. You got spy.
They're the flesh bags.
I mean, he just killed one of their members and then got away, or so they think. But then we're going to let him in to run around and do whatever he wants to. So,
Yeah, but then weren't they bringing him in as a prisoner though?
Yeah, I mean, that part.
Yeah, they were.
But
they put Picard in prison. I mean, they put everybody else with the exception of Girardi, and the only reason they didn't put her in the prison because she's their mother. So why would they let these guys come in and bring in a prisoner? It just didn't make any sense. It's bad writing.
Yeah. Picard's
Yeah, I was fixing to say, like Jessica said, lazy bad magic plot device.
Yeah, Picard's pretty much sent Jesus at this point, and they put him in jail and like gonna let. Foreshadowing. But yeah, they put him in jail. Like, yeah, of course, yeah. Now that you make me think about it, it didn't make it.
But they didn't put him in jail. They just kind of locked him up in Max's room. So it's not like he was doing without, like he was just on bread and water or anything.
Was he incarcerated against his will?
Yeah, but he was at the where the
jail.
rich white people go to jail, where they can still kind of do what they want. They just can't go out to eat every night.
Hey! Martha Stewart prison is still prison. Okay?
Oh gosh.
Oh boy. So let's talk a little bit about Alton soon. You know, after he finally completes his golem, you know, we just mentioned that he sees that Sutra actually killed the other synth. Lucky for us, when the crew comes into town, Alton to the rescue, I guess. What do we think of Soon teaming up with, and turning against, quite frankly, his creations? Did that make a lot of sense? I mean, he gets good justification. You're no better than we are. But,
I was okay with it. I mean, it's Soon, and I think he never lost sight that these are just machines. Like, I mean, I know he counts them as important and he counts them as family, but at the end of the day, I don't think he ever really just lost sight of what they really were. I don't think he ever gave them more value than he gave himself or.
I don't know. Go ahead, Cal.
Okay. All right. So I just had a thought sitting here, and here's my thought. What if this whole elaborate setup from releasing the twins out into the real world, they look just like this painting, etc., and so forth. We know that Picard is about to die based on the expectancy of and what happened. What if this was all Data's plan to bring Picard there, and that's why Soong was going alone and all of a sudden switched on a dime like that because he and Data had that planned all along. Our Data had that planned and he was helping him.
Yeah, I could buy that if they actually alluded to it at all in the series, but it that doesn't seem like anything they've alluded to. But I think I would like that better actually than what we got, because he goes from eradicating all organics by opening the hell portal to hell of these aliens coming through, to actually, oh, you're no better than they are. So, I don't know.
Okay, out number two. The whole reason they're even calling the death sense is because Nair killed their sister, who didn't. That's not out of character for him at all. I talked about that in the last one.
Yes.
But they're calling the death alien monster, whatever you want to call them. They're calling the Zerg, or I don't know, whatever you want to call them. I can't remember their real name. They're calling them because he killed the I can't remember her name, but the one that has missing an eyeball right now. Now we know that he didn't kill her, and it was a synth that killed her. Are we still gonna summon the master race synth? Yes. Yes, we are. Even though she's deactivated, Soji is taking up her mantle.
Well,
What?
Don't you think at that point though, like they weren't summoning the death synths just for that reason. They also were summoning them because there was a Romulan force coming to attack them that they couldn't stop.
Good point.
We know at this point. Has he called Starfleet yet? I think he has. Hasn't he called Starfleet?
Well,
Yeah, he already called.
Yeah, but they don't know that, do they?
and they're not there, so you have to assume they're not coming, I guess.
All right.
When
Because
did
when he called Starfleet, but he didn't know if they answered or not.
Well, the only answer to saving themselves from the Romulans is they destroy the entire organic race. Like, that's not logical. These are synths. These are robots. Like, that doesn't even make sense. Like,
Well, I think it just got to the point where I think it was just one thing compounded on another. Like, I think the original thought was, hey, the Romulans are coming. We only have 15 killer flowers or whatever you want to call them. And we have a Borg cube that we didn't do a crap thing. And their plan was like, well, we do have this option. We can call these people. But, they kind of digressed from that because they said, if we call these people, that's going to be like, we're going to destroy all non-Siths. So they didn't really go for that. But then we have the eyeless synth situation. So that kind of compounded onto it. So now they're like really pissed. And they're like, okay, now the Romulans are still coming. And then, so I think one thing led to another that kind of pushed her to do that. I don't think it was just one specific situation.
So now they're calling Metal Thulu.
I'll give you one thing though. There was not a lot of time. They had to think fast.
Yeah.
Here's something that I thought about in the last 15 seconds. These are all synths, right?
Right.
Find a hard drive, put all the synth brains on the hard drive, and Soong can just go away and run away with Soji, and then they can just recreate everybody. And they don't have to destroy all the entire organic people in the entire universe.
So like a pocket universe, Kyle. Sort of.
Like you say, like they had outs, but it's just like, no, we must make this final confrontation happen no matter what. And
Yeah.
the threat, I don't know, like that's what was bothering me this whole episode. I guess it's more than just one thing, but like this is another situation where I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
I guess
I totally get it. They had options. They had options. Like even Picard says, that's a lack of imagination. They had options. They just chose not to take them. They took the worst option.
Talk about throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Jesus.
So
Borg cubes. Like, nobody's going to try to activate the Borg cube and try to use it.
yes, Yes.
You know,
Just
Borg,
sitting there doing nothing.
they all got sucked out into space.
He's working to. I'm working to repair it to make it operate. Just gonna leave it there.
So let's talk about cliche again. And I like this episode. I really did. Even though I'm talking about stuff that got on my nerves, I really did like this episode. I mean, I'm not even lying. I really liked it. But why do we always have to have, in mostly movies, I guess, the showdown has to be between the woman and the only other woman? So I'm talking specifically about the showdown between Seven and Narissa. It just felt too cliche to me. Like, really?
No, because I wanted her to die.
I've been wanting that since episode 2.
Actually, I didn't care if it was whoever it was. It could have been some mindless drone. I just wanted her gone.
Do you think she's dead? I don't think she's dead.
You think she pulled a Palpatine?
That's what I was going to say. She Palpatine.
I don't think she's dead. I mean, she survived. She survived getting mauled by angry Becca Borg, and it was like she fell down the dark hole. We don't hear her splat. She's like, oh.
She activated the site-to-site transporter right before she hit the bottom. That's
Yeah, exactly. Like, hopefully it's not like Portal and her momentum carriers or something. But like, still, like, I don't think she's gone. I don't think she's gone.
Good point. Good point. So let's jump back to the Picard Girardi track while they're on the La Serena. This kind of felt weird to me. This kind of felt weird, especially how they, I talked about it before, but how they all of a sudden switched and were instantly, on the La Serena all of a sudden. That felt weird. But, like, just in general, like, I want to ask you guys, what do we think of the Girardi-Picard duo? Was it good? Awkward? It felt awkward to me. But any thoughts from you guys on them teaming up there at the end?
Kind of contrived almost. Too convenient.
Her saying "make it so" was the ultimate cringe of this entire series. Like,
yeah. Oh, and interesting enough, they were in the ready room with Will Wheaton and Alison Pill and Patrick Stewart, and Picard argued against that being in the episode. He did not want that, her saying "make it so" be in the episode, but she fought, or her and I guess someone else fought to put it in there. It is this ultimate cringe. Patrick Stewart is totally right on that. It should not. It was fan service, true enough, but it should not have been an episode. It just felt weird.
it wasn't even fan service. It's bad.
Oh man. And then I guess I talked about it before, but the use of the Sonic to do the Picard maneuver just. So okay, follow me here. If we go back to Stardust City Rag, she didn't even really know how to operate the transporter, but now she can use this device to spawn 100 ships. Yeah, just weird.
She is a scientist, but I give you it was weird.
Yeah. And then
But when you get caught up with it in the moment of the story, I think some of this we're looking at we're reviewing this aspect. The first time I watched it, a lot of this stuff I didn't pay any attention to because I was so caught up in the story.
And we love it, man. We're just breaking it. I mean, to anybody listening, we love the episode. Yeah.
Yes, I liked it. I'm sorry, I'm just being super critical because we're going over it with a fine-tooth comb.
No, and that's what I meant. I wasn't saying you guys were being critical. I was saying, that's kind of this is what we do.
Yeah. So this one is for John. If they can hear me, look like they might be frozen there. Yeah. So John, Jeremy, Will Riker to the rescue. Thoughts?
Wasn't surprised to see him because once again I made the mistake of looking in the credits. Thanks, Kyle, because now I kind of pay attention to that.
You're very welcome.
Oh, I mean it was fan service. It wasn't a bad fan service. I think they did a decent job with it. I wasn't happy with how the scene played out, but I mean it was welcome.
I thought it was awesome. But and I'm sure you guys are gonna find some kind of way to break that. When Starfleet, like when their armada got there, like I just automatically knew Riker was going to be on the main ship. So I mean, it wasn't a surprise, but I liked it. I loved it, and I don't think anybody else would have been, unless it was like Cisco or Janeway. But I mean, I loved it. I think it was perfect.
Yeah, I thought I thought it was pretty fantastic too. I mean, he even makes the comment of, "I'm not just gonna sit at home and make bunny corn pizza or whatever the hell heck it's called." I just love every minute of him being on screen. It just was that burst of excitement we needed at that point in the episode. And also, when you think about the conversation between he and Picard, it was just all great stuff. That's the type of fan service I need.
Yeah,
Though,
absolutely.
if I were
Uh-oh.
to argue about one thing, the ships, to me, all the ships look the same. I can remember
They
past
are
Trek.
the same.
Why? I remember past Trek episodes where they have like a multitude of ships. They would all be different and interesting. But to me, they all look like the
Mm-hmm.
Verity. If you remember the Verity design from the comics, they all look like that. So, what? Any thoughts on
I had
this?
an article from the writer.
Go ahead. Go ahead, John.
Oh, so I read an article and from the writers, and this is a new version of ship called the Curiosity class. Well, it's part of Curiosity class starship, which has been around for a while, but this is actually a newer version of it, and it's called the Zenhei. We don't have any technical specifications on it, but it's supposed to be their top of the line type battle type ship.
Hmm.
So they mass produced them for, I
Interesting.
guess, moments like this.
Interesting.
Um, Let me see. There was a. I have to go through the actual story, but it was kind of based off of the Enterprise E.
Yep, it does look similar. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and they kind of took that and improved upon it and added a whole bunch of stuff they didn't tell us about. But supposedly, it's like the baddest warship they have. So naturally,
Yeah, it just felt too homogenous to me. I don't know. That's a little gripe to complain about, but other than that, I definitely love that scene. Kyle, did you have any comments about the Will Rocker scene? You may have commented
I,
already.
no, the only thing I would add to that is I think we expected it, and I enjoyed it. I mean, like I said, I was caught up in it, and it wasn't overdone, but I enjoyed it.
All right. Well, let's talk about Picard's gift, his life, and Picard's rather quick descent or his downward spiral into health, which just they did a lot of things. Like early on, they mentioned that he had, or with what I'm calling the aromatic syndrome. They don't call it that in this series, probably for copyright reasons, but they mentioned it early on. It's like we don't revisit it to the last two episodes. I think they kind of did us a disservice by not trickling it throughout the season because it just felt like it came out of nowhere. What about you guys? Any thoughts on that? Did it feel natural to you guys?
It did to me. I kind of felt, I mean, we've only had just a few episodes, so it kind of felt, and it felt organic. And I think that they did in one of the mid episodes make some reference to it. Wasn't it in the last episode that he said something like said goodbye to Rafi?
Yeah, that was in the. I'm just saying it. It seemed like it would have affected him more throughout the season. And I don't know. It just felt weird to me. But if you're not feeling it, maybe it's just maybe it's just me. Did anybody else have any
I was
comments?
fine with it.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess we can go ahead and get into the aftermath and kind of start to wrap this thing up a little bit. Picard did die, right? He died in this episode, correct?
Yes,
That's my impression.
mine too.
Yes.
And I think Data said as much.
Yeah. Actually reminded me a lot where people talk about the transporter effect because they say you're dying every time you transport. If you've had that argument with anybody before, but yeah, that it felt really weird to hear that, even though we didn't lose him. It still felt really weird and final. Almost like, did somebody mention Jesus Picard or Jesus Sith? It's almost like a resurrection of sorts.
If I could offer my opinion, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kyle.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, if I could offer my opinion, like Picard's dead. He's dead. He's gone. The Picard we know is gone. And the only reason I say that is, like, if you think about this logically, if somebody took an exact copy of my brain and put it in a robot or a synth or whatever, I'm still gonna be dead. That other thing is for other people. Like, my consciousness is gone. It's a copy. Like, I'm dead. Like, this is just something for other people. That's just something for us. Picard's dead. He's gone.
Well, they did say they transferred his consciousness. So I guess it's kind of how do you look at it? What makes you you? Is it your mind and consciousness, or is it your soul? Like,
well, I mean, you have to define
a philosophical debate that will go on forever.
What about this? At what point did he die? Did he die in the ship, or did he die on the planet? If he died on the planet, they could have already did the procedure before he actually physically died.
Well, they did say they made a copy right before he died. They said that. Go ahead, Carrie. I'm sorry.
Saying like it's a copy. Like if I take the hard drive out of my computer and put it in a computer, it's still a different computer.
Yeah.
Like, even that is different than me just making a copy of that hard drive onto another computer, and that hard drive dies. It's still dead. You know, like I don't know. Like, I don't get this. Like, he's gone. He's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, he's obviously physically not gone, but like I said, that's more for us and for the people. He's gone. He's dead.
Yeah, that certainly made me feel a bit of sadness when I thought about that. In the case of Data, which, we talk about Data's single neuron being replicated and put in this simulation, massive quantum reconstructive complex, whatever they called it. It's different because Data was already a digital being in a lot of ways, and even the fact that they can grab Picard's consciousness, it made me think that the mind meld made a little more sense in the last episode where Sutra does the mind meld with Girardi. But yeah, it does make me sad in the sense that Picard is gone. He's still here, but he's gone. And the Picard we saw in all those episodes in TNG is gone for all intents and purposes. But if you look at, I guess poetically, if you look at it as him defending the synths, I think it's a cool way to continue his life, but also make the meaning of the synthetics life a little more important because, this is Picard. The great Picard is now a synth. So a lot of interesting stuff there. And, John, you were talking about philosophy and things like that. You can look at it a bunch of different ways, a bunch of different ways.
I don't even look at it philosophically, though, because, like, the way I relate us to being like a computer. Like, literally, the brain is the hard drive. The consciousness is memory. So, like, if your computer crashes and your computer does a memory dump, it's everything that was in the computer's memory before it crashed. Yeah. Like, to me, that seems like that's what happened here. Yeah. But I could be wrong.
Yeah.
All right. So let me throw this angle at you. Now, I agree with everything that Carrie just said because that's actually kind of deep in the sense of, this is a downloaded version. This is not really him. And Clarence, you followed up on that. But looking at it from going back and seeing these old Trek episodes that we've reviewed in the last several months, seeing the Picard relationship with Data, I kind of like it as a bookend that he and Data trade places. He basically becomes like Data at the very end, and he in turn gives Data a gift of something that Data says fulfills what he is, and that is to die. So I like that swapping of places, so to speak. So that was cool. That actually was really emotional for me. That was really, really cool.
Yeah. I love that it fulfills Data's biggest pursuit, and that's become more human. You know, that's what he's tried to do throughout all the episodes we've seen him, is to become more human. And this is like his final hurrah to be more human, is to die. So I think it brings a very satisfying end to Brent Spiner's character acting in that role. I think it's a good send off. Whereas in Nemesis, to see him, just blew up on his ship, that was hard. So we finally get a good send off, good funeral, so to speak, for Data. So I really appreciated that.
Absolutely.
Hey, Jessica in the YouTube chat asked the question: Did anyone else think, considering how traumatized Picard still was from being Locutus, he was way on board with being a golem?
Huh. It did seem like he accepted it pretty quickly. Oh, he just downloaded me without telling me into this golem body. Yeah.
Well, he's a very logical person. Like, and I think he's thinking, "Oh, well, it's done now. What can I do about it?"
Yeah.
Well, he did just unplug Data.
True. And then I was really surprised that they gimped him, so to speak. It made sense because Patrick Stewart can't run around and do cool stuff, but they gave him no abilities. He's going to die in his real lifetime. They gimped him, which I don't know how to feel about it.
Was that a cop? That one to me felt like a cop out.
I mean, logically speaking, from an acting point of view, he can't do any of the things a super powerful Soji or Data can do. I get that, but still, like you said, and you can go a little further. Sorry to cut you off, but it did feel like a bit of a cop out.
No, I mean, that was it, and I agree.
So are we saying you wanted him to have super?
It's not that I wanted it, but it just felt too convenient. It just felt too convenient.
I would have been okay with them just fixing him and then bringing him back.
I thought it would have been cool if like Tom Hardy would have came back for the next season. Yeah, that would have been dope.
Oh yeah, that would have been kind of awesome. All right, so that's all I really have. I think Carrie mentioned the Rafi 7 thing earlier, which I just found out of the blue and nowhere. I'm like, it's not that I didn't like it. It's just like, it was such a surprise that I was just shocked, really. It's like,
I found it mildly arousing.
And so did all the other fans.
Yeah, right. That was truly fan service.
Right.
Oh, we're shipping them now? What do you say, Jeremy? I thought you had a comment there.
Well, they already alluded to 7 earlier in the season, but Rafi, that just to me came out of nowhere.
Yeah. It really did. And we have interesting things to look forward to next season because we have a few couplings on the La Serena there. So go ahead, John.
Well, was I the only one not surprised by this?
Where did they allude
I was just
to
happy
it?
to see her hugging something that wasn't a bottle. So,
Well, I mean, we already knew like that was kind of Rafi's choice. Like, didn't we? Like, did we not?
See, I didn't.
I didn't get it.
No, I didn't either.
When she was talking to the admiral and they were trying to get permission to go to the artifact, and she kind of referenced their past relationship, and it was kind of more than just a friendship type thing.
Maybe so. I thought they were just friends, but I guess I need to go back and watch this scene.
And there's another scene in one of the episodes, and I can't recall it, but I mean, when I seen that, like I kind of put it together because I've watched those two scenes, and I've always had that in the back of my mind. Like, I wonder, like, where Raffi goes, and now we know. But like, I think it led up to it. I seen it coming.
Huh. Interesting
I
stuff.
didn't. It was a shocker to me.
Yeah.
Me neither.
And is this one of those things when you go back and you've had something revealed? And I'm not saying, Jonathan, you didn't see that. You very well, may have, and kudos to you. But this could also be something when you go back and watch it, knowing something. It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, they had that here.
Like the head
Right.
tick.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and they were playing the game that Tuvok used to play all the time, or Vulcans in general. What's the name of the game? I can't remember. With the stick thingies. I cannot remember what it's called.
Oh,
But that was cool.
Crap, okay.
That was cool seeing that again.
Kento.
And the
Kanto?
music. And the music they were playing.
Yeah, the music was really good. And then they book in the season with Blue Skies, which we saw from the opening scenes of the series. So all great stuff there.
So was that Soji singing?
Yeah, I've read that.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought it was, but I wasn't sure.
So interesting thing about her, and I think I saw this on a YouTube video. It may have been the last Ready Room, but she was in Hamilton. She did Hamilton.
Oh, she was?
Yeah. Yeah. She's fairly young though, because I think she came out of drama school, did Hamilton, and got Star Trek. So good for her.
Wow.
It's all downhill from here then.
I didn't mention one of my favorite parts. So we're gonna wrap this up. But when Riker came on screen and he like called out, "Oh, somebody gonna kick her tall Shi'ar ass," that was great. That was great.
Dude, when he was sitting in the chair, like leaned over, like he was just completely comfortable being in the lead, like being the like head dude. That was my favorite part of the whole episode.
Yeah, man, Riker, he's freaking awesome. Get that man a series. Come on. But guys, we're gonna wrap this up. If nobody else has any other comments, thanks.
So,
Go ahead, guys.
Leaving this planet with no kind of like help or with we're just gonna leave them there and hope they make it and let them fend for themselves.
Not like they have to eat.
I don't know. Comments about
It
it?
did seem kind of iffy though. I got you there. Yeah.
yeah, it was not mentioned at all. Like,
No, they just kind of, and then Starfleet left. They were like nobody stayed behind to like do cleanup or anything. So there's just this whole planet of Siths and Borg just kind of hanging out. And
Oh
hopefully they'll
yeah,
stay on their sides.
that could be
so
interesting.
yeah.
That could be interesting. I kind of like that, actually.
Well, there was an episode of TNG where Lore actually converted a bunch of Borg to like a cult.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he's kind of, so maybe these synths are going to, I don't know, fix these Borg and kind of assimilate them, maybe?
Yeah.
Well, I guess honestly, for all intents and purposes, they are safe because that's Starfleet airspace. That's Starfleet territory now. So if they are attacked, that's an act of war against Starfleet, and then those super advanced ships are gonna like destroy all the Romulans, basically. So
Yeah.
Unless they decide to call in Metal Thulu again.
Did that remind anybody of anything? I mean, it gave me Discovery vibes, but I couldn't quite place it. Tentacles, really? I mean, it kind of reminded me of
That
Discovery.
just looked weird.
It reminded me of Hellboy, actually, the little creature they tried to summon in the first Hellboy movie.
Huh.
Except made of metal.
Jessica's right. They did call it a first contact situation. So that's also something to think about.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for everybody for joining in the chat, and we are going to wrap this up. The season is over. I think we're gonna follow in the discussing who style and do a favorites as the last episode of the season. You know, best, most liked, most disliked of the season type of episode, which I thought was very good that we did for discussing who. But we're gonna wrap this up and go around the horn and see what everybody has been working on, podcast related or otherwise, or watching, quite frankly, since we're all at home doing social distancing. And we'll start with Carrie. What about you, man? What have you been working on, podcast related or otherwise?
Just music. As far as like TV shows or whatever, I don't watch a whole lot of TV now that this is off, so I don't really have any recommendations. I can give you some Japanese manga recommendations, but like that's about it. I'm sure you guys want to hear that. We can just go next question.
Jeremy, what about you, man?
I really haven't been watching anything. I do want to say though that I know some of us, myself included, haven't been dealing well with this social isolation, this social distancing that we've had to do. And if you need to talk to somebody, call and talk to somebody, because that's something I probably should have done. But take care of yourself, and if you need to talk, find somebody to talk to.
Yeah,
Don't let it get you down.
yeah, definitely, man, definitely. John, what about you, man?
Not much, man. With the extra time I've had, I've been working in the yard, doing things around the house. The Ready Room recording studio is almost there. Just have to put some flooring down, and I think we will get there. And what I've been watching, and I'm sure everybody has heard about it, and I kept hearing, so I decided to give it a watch, and that is Tiger King.
I knew you were going to say that.
Listen, this is the craziest stuff you will ever see in your life. Like, if you want to laugh hysterically for a long time, like, watch this. It's ridiculous.
So is this like real though?
Yeah, this is a documentary.
It's kind of unbelievable. I mean,
Yeah, it's real.
not only for the antics, but just being in a cage with a lion or a tiger and not
How
even.
did he not? Yeah.
How do you? Yeah, it seems implausible. Almost
Well,
impossible.
that happens all the time. I mean, we've seen that in many. Well, I have. I mean,
well, not to this extent. I haven't seen. I must admit, because they'll turn their back. They'll go put their arm in the tiger's mouth. They. I don't know.
I mean, I've seen that quite a bit through. I mean, not in person, but I mean, I've seen documentaries and things about exotic pet owners and all of that. I mean, not 257 tigers, but
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen a documentary of a guy that had like 2 tigers and some other weird animal, and he would like put his head in his mouth and weird stuff like that.
Maybe it's because they're not that intelligent. Maybe. Well, because like I read these stories about people who keep chimpanzees, and it was like one of the chimpanzees' birthday, and they brought that chimpanzee like a piece of cake, and all the other ones got mad, and they like broke out of the cage and like ripped these people apart.
Oh,
and
God.
like that's chimpanzees. Like I can imagine like tigers.
But
Right.
also they're raising these from cubs from
Right.
from very
They are.
small. So they're around them their entire life. So that's I guess that's a little bit different with how you think of it.
Still not an excuse because a tiger is going to be a tiger at some
Right.
point.
Make sure they don't go hungry.
Oh.
Kyle Jones, what about you, man? Podcast leader, otherwise.
I would say, since you mentioned discussing Who earlier, we're doing some classic Doctor Who episodes. We did a first Doctor last week. We're doing a 6th Doctor this week. So, yeah, check us out, discussingwho.com.
Yeah, and my suggestion is going to be something that I watched that I really missed when it came out, but since I have Disney Plus, I've caught up on it, being in social isolation here. Aladdin, the remake, is actually really good. It is really surprisingly good. You know, I'm not too big for the singing/musical type of shows, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, man. Will Smith kicks tail in that show, man. And also The Lion King. I watched both of those. They're on Disney Plus right now.
Yeah.
If you have not seen them, it's not the one from the 90s. It's a different interpretation, but it's still really good. It's really good. So I enjoyed
didn't
both
like
of
the
them.
Lion King, but I like the Aladdin.
The Lion King, come on, man.
Dude, the problem with Lion King is that like photorealistic lions cannot show emotion. They're just like this.
Yeah,
so happy. Yay.
I don't
Like
know.
that.
And they changed up too much of the music to make
Yeah,
it
the
fit.
music was also not as good as Aladdin either.
Good. Yeah, see, whereas with that one, it was kind of harder to change the music as much. But with Aladdin, you could throw hip hop Will Smith in there. he's not going to be Robin Williams, but he did a good job in his interpretation of it. They went for something totally different, and it was good. So I do get that. I do get that.
He
Dude,
wasn't
they
trying to be
just
Robin
butchered-
Williams. He was trying to be Will Smith, and that
They
worked for
butchered Be
him.
Prepared,
Yeah.
man. They butchered Be Prepared. It
Yes,
was
they
horrible.
did.
That was
Yes, they
that was
did.
when I was done with the movie. Was when they just messed up Be Prepared. Like
Come
that's
on, man.
my favorite part of the movie, pretty much.
Fair enough. I thought it was good, but anyway, we won't digress too far on this. If you had
I've been
Disney Plus,
pooping on
check
stuff
those out.
all night. I apologize.
No, it's hey, we're here to give our opinion, man. We're here to give our opinion. So, guys, thanks for all for joining. Also, again, be sure to like and subscribe on the various podcasting platforms, leave reviews, all that other good stuff. Thank you for joining us live, and until next time, guys, live long and prosper.
Be prepared.
Come on, Carrie. Let me before I sign off, get your best Patrick Stewart impression. He can't do it while he's on video.
Ralphie, pull your tongue out of Seven's mouth.
Oh, God.
No, Ralphie, no, no. No, Ralphie.